Israel's relations with the EU. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel will visit Israel in early October amidst growing U.S.-Europe tension over Iran. And today, Prime Minister Netanyahu took off to the Baltic states in an effort to, quote, balance out European attitudes towards Israel. Here's what he said this morning before takeoff.
We are, of course, interested in strengthening the economic and political ties with these countries, as they wish to do with us. I also want to balance the EU's non-friendly attitude towards the State of Israel in order to achieve more fair and genuine treatment. I do this through contacts with blocs of countries within the EU, Eastern European countries, and now with the Baltic states, and also, of course, with other countries.
Daniel, non-friendly attitude. What do you make of that statement?
I disagree.
Disagree?
You know, I just simply disagree.
Why?
Because I think it's easy. It's a good political slogan. Because if some Council of Ministers that happens every few weeks gives a statement that includes some kind of criticism about the Israeli government, personally, I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. What I would make a big deal out of is the status that Israel has vis-à-vis the EU, which is unique. There is no other country in the world that has such close agreements of cooperation in trade, in scientific research, in cultural affairs. Those are the things that count. That's why the EU is such an important country to us. Who cares if they criticize something that happened in Gaza or didn't? Or maybe you should care, but it's you know, have your priorities right. You need these people. They are our number one economic, and not just economic, partner. There are hundreds of millions of euros that are pumped into Israeli universities and research centers through agreements with the EU. Isn't that more important? You have to come out and say they're unfriendly? What are they unfriendly about?
What do you think? Are they unfriendly?
Well, I'm very happy with the economic growth, and I think it's very important, and we need to continue with that. What I'm unhappy with, and I do think that the EU is unfriendly towards Israel, is the fact that European countries are paying for non-profits in Israel, NGOs in Israel, who vilify the name of Israel. It can be all sorts of far-left radical organizations. That's number one. Number two, the EU is building illegally in Israel. That's colonialism or neo-colonialism. That means, like, if I disagree with a certain policy in Germany or Spain, I'm not going to spend my tax dollars to try to change the policies there. It's not criticizing Israel. Israelis criticize Israel. It's fair to criticize Israel. It's meddling in our politics. That's undemocratic, then that's very unfriendly. If they're building a road from European money on our sovereign land, that's problematic.
What do you have to say that, Daniel? Are they intervening?
Exactly is that happening?
Are they meddling in Israeli politics?
In different
Last time I checked, that wasn't Israeli sovereign territory. Well, let's be clear about this. This is not Israeli sovereign. No Israeli government has decided. I know that you would like it to be, but no Israeli government has made this a sovereign Israeli territory. So let's not twist the reality.
So this disputed territory, you think it's fair for them to put an EU flag to pay for structures there? And by the way, there are parts that
the Israeli government is very happy about the aid money that comes in order to build roads and build things that help the economy.
Sorry, they're building roads that Jews are not allowed to drive on. But if you're talking about different territories,
we do the other way around, and you feel very comfortable with that.
That's really uncalled for. But there are also parts.
Why is it uncalled for?
You say what I support for. I believe that
Israelis build roads that are only for Israelis.
Israelis.
Yeah.
In Israel, you have Jews and Arabs.
No, not in Israel. In the West Bank.
And in these roads, you have Jews and Arabs driving these roads. But just to be back to the point, you also have areas where you have Israel's sovereignty, and you have the EU money being spent on new structures, and that's neo-colonialism. That means that European countries are building whatever they want on my sovereign state.
Are they doing anything illegal?
Yes.
So why aren't Israeli courts taking action against the EU?
It is actually taking place right now. There are people who are, well, in Jerusalem, for instance, in the western part of Jerusalem.
Are they building illegally?
They are building illegally in parts of Jerusalem.
By the way, I want to ask you,
okay, so that's fine. We have a legal system. You can attack.
What is the reason?
But the point is, if they're unfriendly,
I want to ask you say that the Europeans are meddling in Israeli politics with, the organizations that vilify Israel. What's the reason for that? What's behind that? Why is the EU doing that?
Well, it's a good question. If you ask me, I think what they're really concerned about is the fact that we are the nation state of the Jewish people. And I think that they have a hard time accepting that.
Yes, but they're still very happy to give the nation state of the Jewish people an unparalleled status in their relations with the EU. No other country in the world has such a status. How does this concur with what you just said?
Because they're gaining from our connection. It's not a one-way street. Do they not enjoy
our... No, it's not a one-way street, but we gain far... I mean, if they cut relations with us, the Israeli economy will collapse. The European economy won't collapse. That I promise you.
Well, if all the European countries will cut ties with Israel, it will be very problematic. I'm just trying to understand why would they do that. I'm trying to...
Because they are very supportive of the independence of the state of Israel, the homeland of the Jewish people, and they have said so dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
Did you want to respond to that before we go?
Well, I'm not saying that they're my enemies like Iraq. I'm saying that they have a problem with them meddling in my affairs. That's why Netanyahu is not boycotting them. He's trying to change their attitude.